bit hard. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody in the mood to waltz now? Before we do anything else, would you please remember to put your phones on worship mode if you haven't already? Thank you, Stan. And I apologize ahead of time if I cough or if you have to watch me suck on this lozenge, but I'm getting rid of a bad cold. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Ina McBride, and I'm just one member of a whole team of people who are working to bring this service to you today, whether in person or virtually through our web. Pardon me. I want to take a moment to welcome any visitors we have with us this morning. First-time visitors, I see a few. Rather than gathering because we all have the same beliefs, we are an intentional community gathered around our shared promise to support each other's individual spiritual journeys. Here at Community, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. So that's just a little bit about us, for those who didn't know. We hope that after the service you can stay for church chats and let us get to know a little bit more about you. This morning I need your help with the call to worship. You know how I love audience participation, right? What's going to happen is I'll do the reading, and then this side of the congregation will say, "Come in." That's not hard, right? Followed by a response. This side of the congregation says, "Be among us." So, come in, be among us. Cool. To all who are yearning for community,
Come in, be among us.
to all who are just getting started, and to all who long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care,
Come in, be among us.
to the ones who have healed and have care to give, for those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach,
Come in, be among us.
for the ones who are just beginning to suspect they might nurture others becoming, to the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room here for each and every one.
Come in, be among us.
Let us worship. Our chalice lighting this morning will be lit by Trey Boyett.
Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation, as we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life.
Each UU congregation has created its own covenant. Our covenant is a promise we make to one another about how we will walk together as a community, as a congregation. Please remain seated and join me in reminding ourselves of this promise.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
But that phrase, happily ever after, we've heard it, we've read it, we've said it, and we've even wished for it. Who wouldn't want to live happily ever after, like Cinderella. But of course, Cinderella's life wasn't always good. It was pretty miserable there for a while, losing her parents and then working and cleaning day in and day out for a trio of ingrates. But she kept her head up, she did what she was told, and she kept believing in her dreams, even when things seemed hopeless. And then, thanks to the glow-up by her fairy godmother and the infatuation of a very persistent prince, Cinderella's dreams did come true. She found her true love and a new tax bracket. It's a fairy tale that's made it quite easy for any of us to foster an expectation that says, if I work really hard and I don't just get discouraged, my dreams, whatever they may be, will come true. Or, if I suffer enough but I tough it out, I will be rewarded. In the words of public relations expert Todd Meisner, the idea that anyone can make it in the United States if they work hard enough has been a bedrock of American life since our country's birth. And many times it's a logical, reasonable conclusion. Like say you're in school and you go to all of your classes, you study, you take the practice test, you get good rest the night before, and you're properly nourished. No one's going to be surprised that you do well on the exam. That was the expectation, because you did everything in your power to succeed. You held up your end of the bargain, and it worked out. But what happens when it doesn't work out? What happens if you accidentally oversleep and miss the test? What happens if you get some bad news right before the test and can't concentrate? What happens if your school gets put into lockdown that day? Or what happens if ICE shows up that day at your school? Or what happens if something else beyond your control happens to prohibit your taking or doing well on the test that you prepared for? What happens when we put in the effort for anything, pay our dues, go through hard times, but our dreams come crashing down? When our expectations for greatness don't pan out? When our great expectations end up to be not so great? Well, we can go back and ask Cinderella, not the one from 1950, the Disney-fied version that lived happily ever after, but the one from 1986, a time when the ideals of modernism were beginning to yield to a more skeptical postmodern viewpoint. Skepticism that James Lapine and Stephen Sondheim fully exploited in their Broadway musical Into the Woods. The story takes the characters and plots from several well-known fairy tales. Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Rapunzel, and weaves them together with some new characters, some unforeseen twists, and some ulterior motives in order to create a story that upends the notion of happily ever after, and more often than not, reflects our human condition. Act 1 begins with each character wishing for something. Cinderella dreams of going to the king's festival to dance before the prince at the ball. After a series of events and introductions, all of the characters find themselves traveling from their village into the woods in order to make their wishes come true. And the rest of the act follows their journeys, the risks they take, the dangers they face, the love they find, and also peels back the layers on these characters that are meeting each other for the first time outside of the bounds of their own stories. By the end of Act 1, each character, By the end of Act 1, each character is back out of the woods, and their wishes have been granted. They sing, of course, it's a musical, so they sing about the challenges they had to endure in order to achieve their dreams, but they conclude that everything ended up the way that it should, since the villains were punished and the main characters were rewarded. And we reached the right conclusions, and we got what we deserved. Not a sigh and not a sorrow, tenderness and laughter, joy today and bliss tomorrow, and forever after, is what they sing. What begins as an uncertain mashup of familiar characters and plot lines still winds up as a lovely tableau of happily ever after by the time intermission rolls around. But if it only ended there. If only wishes and dreams were guarantees and life was a one-act play. Act 2 begins with our fairy tale characters still happy, but perhaps getting a little restless to the point of professing new wishes. For instance, Cinderella wants to sponsor her own festival this time. While ruminating on their lives and options, the characters are interrupted by loud crashes and destruction. Turns out the giantess at the top of Jack's beanstalk has come down to bring retribution to Jack for killing her husband and taking all of their fortune. And in doing so, she has wrought wide-felt destruction in the whole village. By this time, everyone has gone back into the woods in order to remedy the situation. But this time, fear, madness, and violence creep in, and we, unfortunately, lose some characters along the way. And as is common in crisis situations, everyone starts to blame everyone else, and everyone offers different solutions for their own survival. The act that starts with a different set of wishes quickly descends into a state of chaos when adversity shatters their dreams and expectations. And doesn't that reflect our real lives? Oftentimes we expect life to go a certain way, maybe because we've worked hard and we deserve it, maybe because we've been exposed to the notion that we're special or exceptional, only to find our dreams and expectations shattered. Ever since the 17th century, America as a whole has claimed exceptionalism by co-opting a Bible verse from the book of Matthew. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. And America said, oh, that's us. Lifting America up as a beacon of hope for the world, the shining city on a hill has been touted and repeated by our politicians who have also said, oh, that's us. Politicians through the years, but perhaps none so much as Ronald Reagan. In January 1989, Reagan expounded on this phrase during his farewell speech to the nation after serving 2 terms as president. I've spoken of the shining city all of my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. And even though the ideal of being a shining city on a hill may have been well intended at the beginning, the issue with centering ourselves in that way is that it can lead to self-importance, self-exaltation, and entitlement, both as a country and as individuals that live there. Like the retired cat, William Cooper's retired cat, we expect and even assume that the things in our path that are inviting to us, the open drawer, the closed drawer, are there for us and our happiness, and that things should and will work out in our favor. And what a rude awakening it is when the drawer doesn't open when we think that it should, and we have to wait it out in the dark, not knowing why things haven't worked out for us this time. In the words of spiritual fiction writer Jayant Chopra, it hurts when high hopes meet the deep sea. And it's quite understandable if our first questions are, what went wrong? Who's to blame? What needs fixing? And all are excellent questions to ask because a lot needs fixing in our world. Other times, however, maybe a deeper look at our own thought process is also called for here. Maybe a little soul searching and asking questions of ourselves. What were our expectations? Were they reasonable? Did we have all the information we needed when we made those expectations? Did we think that we could escape the unfairness that is life because of who we are or what we've accomplished? Adversity comes to everyone at any and all stages of life. But we don't necessarily think about that when our minds are set on a happily ever after. The Navajo people have a ritual for adolescent girls after their first menstruation cycle called Kinalda, which lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 days. Under the supervision of a female mentor, each initiate girl participates in 5 rituals that will help her navigate the rest of her life. She is first molded or massaged by her female mentor in order to impart the qualities of changing woman, the most venerated of the Navajo holy people. The second is running toward the east every day in the morning and in the afternoon or evening, and being expected to increase their distance with every run they'd make. Hair washing with a yucca plant, face painting with white clay or aspen tree ashes, and finally, making a large corn cake that's baked in a hole in the ground, the length of a shovel, and as deep of an arm up to the elbow. Grinding the corn and mixing the cake are the jobs of the initiate, and it's very strenuous work. And after it is baked, the initiate serves the cake to all of those attending and thanks them and expresses her gratitude for them attending her ceremony. In this ceremony and these rituals, these initiates symbolically experience many of the skills that are necessary to face life's journey, being positively informed and influenced by those that have come before, self-care, strength, endurance, work, and serving one's loved ones and community with gratitude. In a familiar environment, they are given an introduction into building their characters in the story of a world in a world that is not a fairy tale. That the world is not a fairy tale is made plain through Act 2 of Into the Woods. By the end of the story, the characters have been broken by adversity, dashed dreams, and their not so great expectations. Cinderella is single again, having rebuffed her prince because of his infidelity, and she heads back to the village with a new family of chance and of choice. And together their immediate wish is to try to make sense of their collective tragedies and to move forward with their lives. With hard-won wisdom and hope, they begin to reconcile with the reality of the woods, representing life's challenges and dangers and the inevitability of having to grapple with them. They sing, though it's fearful, though it's deep, though it's dark, and though you may lose the path, though you may encounter wolves, you can't just act, you have to listen, you have to think. There are always wolves, there are always spells, there are always beings, or a giant dwells there. So into the woods you go again, you have to, every now and then. Into the woods, no telling when. Be ready for the journey. They seem to have come to a similar conclusion, the same one as self-help author Mawanandiki Kandembo. It doesn't matter what you expected, but you must accept what reality offers to you at the end. On the advice of my massage therapist, she's great, let me tell you. And if you're not into massages, I highly recommend it. On the advice of my massage therapist, I started seeing a chiropractor about 1.5 years ago. Turns out I had twisted my body into quite the pretzel over the course of several decades. And I dutifully went once a week and I did my exercises and my stretches at home. After about 6 months of consistent work, I finally felt some relief. And my chiropractor, my massage therapist, and I all agreed that I was making really good progress. My chiropractor visits began to be less frequent, and I started mentally predicting when I could be released from his supervision and his care. But that day has yet to materialize. Yes. Even though I have continued to do my stretches and my exercises, there always seems to be something else to fix or adjust. A new twinge or maybe an older one that has resurfaced. I had been living with the expectation that I would get to the point where I was cured. I would get that final adjustment and that would be it. My happy ever after. No more neck or back pain, no more hip pain, no more plantar fasciitis. So several weeks ago, I vented some of my frustration to my chiropractor and said, I'm just trying to get reconciled with the fact that I still need these appointments. And my chiropractor nodded and said, I get that, but you have to look at your family history. And I remembered seeing both my dad and my grandmother lying on the living room floor together because their backs hurt. My mother's multiple surgeries, 3 on her back alone as a result of osteoarthritis and degenerative disc disease. My dad's leg that atrophied because of a herniated disc, and the chronic pain my mother still lives with. And it allowed me to start seeing things in a different way and think about what if instead of asking, how much longer do I have to do this, or why does my body have to be this way? What if I started asking instead, what can I do to feel better today? And how can I be a good friend to all of my muscles and bones today? What if I really leaned into those stretches and exercises and really felt them and the good they were doing rather than resenting the fact that I had to do them in the first place? The reality is that our bodies are simultaneously strong and fragile. Fascinating organic creations inviting respect. That's the reality. And another reality captured succinctly by artist Barry H. Gillespie is, the path forward isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. You continually come back to things you thought you understood, and you see different truths. Like everything in nature, we do not stagnate. We grow, and we change, and we suffer, and we laugh, and we cry, and we feel joy and disappointment over and over. As Reverend Aya mentioned last week, we are continually transforming as we move through life, the lives we say a resounding yes to. And when we do that, I think, we open ourselves to possibilities and gifts and helps in places that we never dreamed to look until we're no longer waiting for a happy ever after, but being continually amazed and caught up in the journey itself. American author Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "Life doesn't stop when we're exhausted, when our hearts are shattered, or when our spirits feel threadbare. It keeps moving, unyielding, indifferent, demanding that we keep pace. The cruelest part? No one really prepares us for this. As children, we are fed stories of resilience wrapped in neat, hopeful endings, tales where pain has purpose and every storm clears to reveal a bright horizon. But adulthood strips away those comforting illusions. It teaches us that survival is rarely poetic. More often than not, it's about showing up when you'd rather disappear, smiling through pain no one sees, and carrying on despite feeling like you're unraveling from the inside out. And yet, somehow we persevere. That's the quiet miracle of being human. Even when life is relentless, even when hope feels distant, we keep moving. We stumble, we break, we fall to our knees, but we get up. And in doing so, we uncover a strength we never knew we had. And I would say, in conclusion, that it is this strength that helps propel us from being passive characters to authors, chronicling our adventures and our adversities and crafting them into our own individual stories.
Bravo.
Every week, we gather in this beautiful place to find peace. Each week, words and music offer and celebrate peace with the hope of instilling it in each of us. Now, take the peace that you have found here and take it into the world with you. Renewed in our faith and inspired to act, let us be peacemakers the world aches for, and by being peacemakers, let us find the peace that we so long for in ourselves. Go in peace, make peace, be at peace.